I was prepared for nobody to really care about what I was going to do. Then I was also prepared for some people maybe to care, but I was, this has exceeded my wildest expectations. So this has gone from, a one-man journey to now there's 9 of us on the ground now. I'm supporting each other through this trip through the mountains.
Last week, I had the pleasure of interviewing someone who was walking along the highway in Canada. I interviewed James Topp, who is a soldier who served in the Canadian Armed Forces for 28 years, and he also worked with the RCMP for a while, and he lost his job due to the vaccine mandates and was struggling for quite a while to figure out what to do. And he was inspired by the Freedom Convoy in Ottawa. And what he decided to do is to walk across Canada to protest the mandates and arrive in Ottawa. And I just want to read you the mission statement from canadamarches.ca, which is James Topp's website. And it says, "We rise to serve Canadians with honesty, respect, and compassion for the purpose of reuniting our people. We do this with the intention of ensuring our government upholds the laws that support Canada's Charter of Rights and Freedoms." I really hope you're going to enjoy this.
Yeah, right now I'm just passing through the town of Jaffrey, British Columbia, Canada. We're en route to Fernie, and from there on to Lethbridge, Medicine Hat, and then that's the Trans-Canada, where we're gonna follow that all the way to Ottawa.
Wow.
And like I said, I'm doing this as a form of protest due to loss of employment based on the government mandates that we're both familiar with. And we're also going to, I'm also going there to speak on behalf of people who have lost employment or people who just had to accept this procedure because they were painted into a corner and there was no other option for them besides loss of employment or position or tenure.
You lost your job with the RCMP because you objected to the vaccine mandate. What was your main objection? What were you primarily concerned about?
Well, I'm concerned about an industry that has a sketchy history. The issue that I have with it is there are no long-term safety studies whatsoever of the product in question, and I'm deliberately using this language because I'm trying to avoid any labeling, if you understand what I'm saying. So that was one of my concerns. My main concern with it, however, is that I don't believe that the government has the authority to tell me how to be healthy, what I need to have to be healthy. So it's a protest of government overreach.
It's really interesting. I've talked to some people who were quite happy to take the vaccine for their own reasons, but have refused to use the vaccine passport in any way. And I think they agree with you that this should be a decision that's up to the individual, that you decide with yourself, your family, your doctor, but that it's not up to the government, and that the government is really overstepping these days. And we're not just seeing it with the vaccine mandates and some of the other COVID measures, but we have this Bill 67, this anti-racism bill in the House about how your children are going to be taught. I mean, we're just seeing like this kind of inflation of government across all sectors of society. And there are very few people who are resisting or challenging or speaking out against it. What do you think sort of gives you the courage, is that the right word? The courage not only to speak out against it, but to do something like this, to walk across Canada in protest of it?
I'm not really sure. There was just a confluence of events, I think, that is quite remarkable, honestly. So I have to say that when I was informed of being placed on leave without pay through the armed force, through the RCMP, not long after I was informed that I would be released from the Canadian Armed Forces on an item 5F, what's called an item 5F, which is basically an unwillingness or inability to change a type of behavior. And that type of behavior was my refusal to comply with the Chief of Defense Staff order on vaccines, right? So that's two things that happened to me very short order in November. And to be perfectly honest, it was a devastating experience. And it was a difficult time, very difficult. So I had gotten employment in the civilian sector. Still not very happy about the way things were turning out in my life. Really wallowing in self-pity and not very happy with things. And then with the Freedom Convoy, or sorry, the truckers movement and the Freedom Convoy, it really revitalized me and encouraged me in a way that I don't know, I guess that was like a source of inspiration for me to as a serving member, as a veteran, to try to kind of demonstrate to the Canadian people my commitment to the principles of this country that we live in. I mean, we're talking about the reinstatement of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms that are part of our Constitution. So that's I don't know. I guess it's a demonstration of leadership. It's a demonstration of you know, of what one person can do if you put your mind to it, right?
Well, I was going to say, this is a big thing. I mean, you've been on the road now for how long?
This is day 34.
Day 34. And I think you mentioned to me that you're planning on arriving in Ottawa in June at some point. So this is months out of your life. This is
the end of June, yeah.
This is not, right? This is not just on a whim. Someone decides to, I mean, people drive across Canada and they can't believe how big it is and how long it takes. I mean, this is, you know, and you set out through the winter, you walked through the mountains in BC in the winter. What was that like?
Well, in around the end of February, typically when we started out from Vancouver, you know, it's kind of a milder time of year in that part of Canada. Mm-hmm. We did run into some weather events that were fortunately, you know, we were able to kind of how do I put it? They kind of happened on our days off, and then, you know, we would start in the morning in the mountains. It was a little cooler, and we quickly warmed up because we were moving a little bit faster.
Right.
But we've been really fortunate with the weather. There was one section of the highway between a provincial park in British Columbia and the town of Princeton, BC, that we had to stay out of just because there was a lot of snow on the shoulders and there was just no safe place for us to walk. Mm. And there was one section coming over the Kootenay Pass that we were asked to not walk on due to safety concerns expressed to us by BC Highway Department. So we did like there was a couple of sections that we had to cut out, but altogether we've been really fortunate with the weather and with the road conditions.
And what are the logistics like for you every day? Do you have a planned number of kilometers, a particular destination that you aim to get to every night? And
yeah. So typically we're up at 6, get ready, have some breakfast. We leave at, we try to get going at 8 a.m. I mean, it's a challenge because I'm not in the Army anymore, and well, I still am for the time being, but it's a challenge just to, you know, because I'm used to maintaining tight timings, and sometimes it's not always possible. But we try to take off at 8 a.m. every day. My goal is to get between, you know, 38 to 43 kilometers a day. That gives us an average of about 40 kilometers over the entire trip. which puts us into Ottawa on our target time frame.
And are you staying, where are you staying at night along the route?
Well, initially we had planned, and that's one of the reasons why we carry these packs, is that we had planned on just camping out. And it just turns out that there's been overwhelming community support. And we've been able to basically, well, last night we were put up in a motel for a couple of nights. Prior to that, folks have been opening their homes to us, complete with, you know, preparing meals, things like that. Like, it's just, I can't tell you how encouraging it is to have this kind of support. And the main thing about it is that it's completely, it just, you know, I can't describe it. It's just, I didn't really, I was prepared for nobody to really care about what I was going to do. And then I was also prepared for some people maybe to care, but I was, you know, this has exceeded my wildest expectations. So this has gone from, you know, a one-man journey to now there's 9 of us on the ground now. I'm supporting each other through this trip through the mountains. Like Dan behind me, he met me in Vancouver. I've been carrying the flag faithfully now for, you know, the over 30 days. And the fellow holding the camera is Christian. He's also met me in Vancouver on February 20th when I announced my plan to leave. And we all came together, 30 days ago, and we're tight like a family now. So
it's just amazing. I can see people, you know, honking and waving at you as you're walking along. And
yeah,
do they know what you're doing, do you think? Or they just see the flag and they?
I think in this part of BC anyway, there's more people getting awareness of it, just because, like, it has been 34 days now, and more, how do I put it, like,
more awareness, or
more awareness. But I kind of envisioned this effect, like it was a ripple effect, right? Like I was going to be a small pebble at the beginning, and now there's increasing waves of awareness. And that was our mobile support unit that just passed by.
You know, it looks really beautiful. You can see the sun just kind of burning through the clouds or the mist.
Yeah, and this is the other part of this trip, is that we've been able to, well, me personally anyway, I didn't know what was going to happen from one day to the next, but I mean, the view is pretty fantastic. You do a pan.
So we're looking at you're heading east. So we're looking at the mountains, just Rocky Mountains, beginning of the mountains. It's just amazing.
We just came out of Jaffrey. We're just coming out of Jaffrey, the town of Jaffrey in British Columbia.
What's it like to spend your days walking? What's the physicality of that like? I mean, I know you have a military background, so you're probably used to the certain kind of physicality, but you know, where does your mind go? Are there physical challenges? What's that like?
Yeah. Well, it's one of trying to stay focused on marching and maintaining situational awareness, so to speak. Because, you know, this is the highway. I do typically march towards traffic because I want maximum visibility. We do have safety vehicles that are working. You know, this is another entirely volunteer effort. Folks have decided to take part in this thing and contribute with their vehicles, and we have little flashers on our vehicles with signs. So you know, I have a responsibility to the people I'm walking with to kind of make sure that we're safe. And but having said that, they also have recognized the need for personal responsibility and common sense in what we're doing here. So, you know, it's head up, eyes up, maintaining situational awareness for 8 to 10 hours a day while you're carrying your pack. Meanwhile, kind of thinking about what's to come when we get to Ottawa, right? Because it's not just the march is just one phase of a plan to try to do what we can to make sure that we go back to our foundational principles that that we're calling freedom, right?
Well, I thought those were our foundational principles. It feels like all bets are off now, don't you think?
It's a strange time. I don't know how to describe it. I on the one hand, I do get some negative feedback. I do read through comments. There's this kind of there's a lot of support, overwhelmingly so. But then again, you hear the odd comment like, okay, so what freedom have I lost? Okay, so that is, I think where there's a lot of people who are unaware or I'm not entirely educated on what I'm doing and why. Everybody who just for the reasons that they had for going through with the medical procedure in question, they don't really see anything wrong with the situation that we're in. Those of us who question things and ask, and objected to certain the way the government is acting, we see this kind of loss of freedom. So we have this two different kind of realities going on here.
Yeah, and I don't know, you'd have to tell me your experience, but I met part of the trucker convoy in London when they passed through, and then I went to Ottawa and, hung out with them for a little bit and saw what was happening on the street and talked with them. And then you watch what goes on in our house and what our prime minister has to say. And it feels like it's two totally different versions of Canada. It feels like there's no connection between our government and our people, or two different groups of people. I'd be we'll maybe have to talk again as your walk moves along. I'd be so curious to hear, as you progress through the different provinces, if you run into different, different feelings among people.
Yeah, and I'm already experiencing it through, even though we haven't left BC yet. Because it's a long and winding up and down road out of British Columbia. But just after leaving, the lower mainland, coming out of Vancouver, heading into the interior, into the more rural areas, there is, I think, more of that. You definitely sense that divide, right? Like there was a lot more negativity in and around, Vancouver, moving into kind of lack of interest, so to speak. And then as we approached the interior, it seems like there's a lot more awareness of what I'm doing and a lot more support, even though I have to say the support throughout, even in Vancouver, has been overwhelmingly positive again. But you definitely sense that divide, right? You sense that kind of two versions of reality.
Yeah. You wonder, can we be reading the same newspapers or looking at the same evidence? Or
yeah, exactly.
Exactly. I won't keep you too long. I know you've got places to go and things to do. But
well, no, that's fine. We got I'm game for talking for longer. It's fine.
What would you want to say to on the crazy assumption that they might be listening? What would you want to say to our government right now?
I would say it's time for us to reassess the situation, look at the hard evidence, open the doors again to expert opinion that is not bought and paid for. Have a good hard look at what damage has been done. Personally, I remember being in a state of quite deep despair back late last year. And I thought to myself, there's no way that the folks who have enacted and imposed these kind of restrictions and mandates, I don't think there's any way they have a sense of the damage that has been done.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be first and foremost something I would like to educate them on. With, like, I mean, one of the, with the, the train, like, as the fellow holding the camera right now is Christian. Just turn the camera on yourself for a sec.
Hi, Christian.
He's also a former serving member. We both have military training. It has allowed us to kind of like plan and we speak a common language in that aspect. And one of the things that we realized was that we have a mission, right? And we have a mission statement. And in that mission, there's a number of tasks that we've identified need to be completed. So to go back to your question, as part of our task on this journey eastward is to compile stories, or personal accounts, I should say, of folks that have been negatively impacted, who have lost their jobs, who have suffered health effects, so that we can take those. And that would be one of the things I would say to anybody listening from, provincial and federal governments, is that, I think they exist in a reality, going back to realities again, and that's quite different from ours, because they're shielded from the effects in many different ways. I don't know, what do you think?
We've been talking about the vaccine mandates, but the mask mandates here in Ontario, they were lifted on Monday. And it was really interesting to see what how the population would respond to that. Would people keep wearing them? Would they not? I think the last time I was out was Tuesday, and still about 3/4 of the people are wearing masks, and not just masks, but maybe double masks, or the the N95 masks, or and it seems to me that like the lifting of the mandates is only half the battle here, isn't it? Or part of the battle, because the government has succeeded, or the media machine, or in combination together, has succeeded in changing the population even without the heavy hand of government now, right? They've succeeded in creating so much fear among people that they're going to keep wearing their masks and keep kowtowing to this fear and keep believing the media even when they don't have to.
Yeah, it's like they've imposed a new belief system on us
that we seem so willing to adopt. It's so malleable,
Yeah, so I'm just going to take a quick break here. I want to go say, just watch as I'm going to say hi to some folks here.
Absolutely.
Hi. Sorry?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, I know, right? What's your name?
Haley.
Sorry?
Haley.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Take care. Be safe.
So people just very keen to just shake your hand or say a quick hi along route.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
I think, James, so many people are so grateful for what the truckers did, for what you're doing. I joked when the truckers were in Ottawa that people like, the academics or the scientists or whatever, we've been, working on this for months and months, and we really had no effect at all. And then the truckers drive some trucks into Ottawa, and you get on the ground and walk across the country. And, those they're very simple acts, but they take a lot of diligence and commitment and courage. And I'm sure, what I feel, I kind of have goosebumps just watching you and talking to you. And that what I feel is just so grateful that you're willing to do this for so many of us, because it's so symbolic. I think of what so many of us are feeling, like we've just kind of, we're just kind of adrift at sea, and we don't have any idea what our country is about, if we have laws anymore, who Canadians are, if they can be trusted, where we're going in the future. it seems like we're in a real identity crisis. And it's so comforting to see people like you, you're embracing what we thought were Canadian values and headed to our capital where the decisions are made. And I'll be so interested to hear more about what your plan is when you get there.
Yeah, I mean, I never really considered myself so like a people person, and yeah, here I am. I'm meeting all kinds of people, and it's like you get this kind of so it's hard to kind of like adapt to, in a way. Like, I'm getting more and more used to it, but that's what you get. You get this kind of like this sense that people are excited and they're encouraged, and they're encouraging me in turn, and what I'm doing is important to them, and it's just it's really yeah.
And I think
there's days I wonder how I got here, and what
I was going to say, it's such a good role model for young people who, I used to teach at university, and, late teens and early 20-year-olds are so aimless and unhappy and miserable.
Yeah.
And it's so nice, I think, for them to see somebody have a project and stick to it and meet people and feel good about it. And, I think
and I think, for a while I was one of those people. I just kind of not really having any direction or plan, and then being inspired by what I saw happen in Ottawa in January, deciding to contribute in some way, and then just having all this stuff happen, like it's really remarkable. I've never experienced anything like it.
Well, luckily you have a long time in the day to walk and think about these things and sort of internalize it and process it all, don't you?
Yeah, but at the same time, every day I'm just like, there's a lot of times every day where I just go, I'm still amazed by it.
It's just amazing. Well, like I said before, I think so many of us are so grateful to you and are going to be following along. We will link can you remind us of the name of your website?
Yeah, it's Canadamarches, one word.ca. Yeah. We got links up on it's linked to social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I think Rumble or something like that.
And I think on your website, people can follow along where you are, right?
Yeah, totally. On the website, there's actually a GPS live link where you can click on it. It shows exactly where I am, and that's a good way for, like, there's days when I want to move faster than others, and people want to join in, and unfortunately, we're moving faster than they probably expected. But I like to. It is good to meet people on the road. It really encourages us, and it makes it. How do I put it? Connects us, right? That's another kind of thing that I think is one of the effects we're trying to achieve with this project, with this journey, is connecting all these different groups with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. We've lost so much of that, haven't we? Connection over the last months, years. Yeah. Really. Well, James, thank you so much. And we just, my thoughts and prayers are with you as you're doing this incredible journey. And I'm a little envious that you get to see our country, on the ground, the whole thing. I think that's really amazing. And I hope that maybe we can check in again in a little bit as you, when you're a little
absolutely.
Journey.
Absolutely.
Okay, James, thank you so much. And to everybody walking with you, I don't know if you can hear me, but take good care and keep it up.
Okay. I'll pass it on.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, bye, Julie.